Hello, and thanks for joining me in the middle of the week as we check in. I'm sure you were horrified, as I was, to hear the news last week of the discovery of the remains of 215 Indigenous children buried on the grounds of a former residential school. But sometimes the reactions that we have to the news just aren't enough. And I want to ask you to imagine with me for a moment. Imagine that you have just found out that there has been the discovery of remains of students on the grounds of a school you attended. That a school was allowing children to die and even causing their deaths, and then burying them there, not sending their bodies home, not even necessarily telling their families of their death. Now imagine that you knew it was going on, but no one would listen to you. And imagine as well that this was a school you didn't choose to go to. Your parents didn't even choose for you to go there. You were forced to go there against your parents' will. And finally, imagine that this is a school that was run in the name of Jesus Christ. That only gives us a little hint of a taste of what our Indigenous neighbors are going through, feeling, experiencing. We need to stop imagining, because this is truth. It's not my story, it may not be your story, but it is truth. It did happen. People have known about it and not been listened to. This is a brutal, horrific truth about an atrocity, an evil. It's a crime, and we've only begun to see the full scope of it. This is an injustice against our Indigenous neighbors. It's also an injustice against humanity. All people are created in the image of God. Image bearers of God were treated like they did not matter, like they were not human. And they were treated that way by people who claimed to follow Jesus Christ. For me, part of the horror of this is that it was going on in my lifetime. It was happening and I didn't know about it. It was happening while I was feeling proud to be a Canadian. It was happening while I was feeling that we as Christians were making a positive difference in the world around us. Meanwhile, self-declared Christians were abusing and murdering children, and no one checked in, and they were not held to account for their actions. I know that we can't change the past, but if we ignore the past, we perpetuate it. By treating this news like just another story on the evening news, well, we continue to treat image bearers of God as though they are not human, as though their experience doesn't matter, as though their stories are not true. By ignoring it, we act as though the church does not need to be held accountable for its actions. And please don't say that this wasn't our church or this wasn't our faith tradition. Anytime crimes and injustices are committed in the name of God, all Christians should be horrified. Rather than distancing ourselves from it, we actually need to take actions. We need to listen and be ready to hear the pain of those who experience these actions or who feel the pain because it is their people who experienced it. We need to model the God of grace and truth. Let's not shy away from truth, even when it's hard to hear. Hard truth is better than easy lies, because hard truth leads us to where the God of grace already is. I want to encourage you that if you know someone who is Indigenous, to reach out to them, to ask them, how they are doing with this latest news of tragedy on their people, injustice against their people. And be ready to listen, really listen. Don't explain, don't qualify or justify, don't patronize. Just listen to their pain, their anger, their suffering, and be ready to agree with them that this is a horror and that God did not agree, condone, or cause this. God is horrified by these actions. And if you don't know someone who's Indigenous, I do want to let you know that you will have an opportunity to meet some of our Indigenous neighbours from across southwestern Ontario next spring, the spring of 2022. I know that's a long time to wait, but in the spring of next year, Westview will be hosting, along with other Baptist churches in our area, a conference to meet, learn from, hear the stories of our Indigenous neighbours in order to grow in understanding, to grow in respect, and to grow in relationship. Because that is a reflection of the God of grace and truth. In this moment of shock and horror, let's pause to listen, pause to care, and make sure we are treating our Indigenous neighbours as the co-image bearers of God that they are. God bless you.